at Crown Plaza Hotel with Tom Marcello. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. Tom, talk about what got you to management, because you've had such a varied career. You're a photographer, with managers, with musicians. What got you into this side of music?
Well, after a career of, an ongoing career of outside of the music business, I was able to spend some time, and it's a way of giving back in order to help some artists, in particular Rochester native Joe Locke, to and manage his career and get his career in a more business focus.
Yeah.
There's no artistic decisions that I help make, very little, but it's more of getting the books and the booking and the publishing and all that are necessary stuff that's on the other side of the artistic part in order to function as an artist.
How long have you been working with Joe?
6 years.
6 years. Mm-hmm. And what made you say, you know what? Because you guys were friends before,
right?
It started with a handshake, right? Essentially.
Yeah, I've known Joe since he was 17 years old, so I'm 5 years older than him. But Joe's a highly creative artist.
Yeah.
He's a great composer. He is the most prominent vibraphonist in the world, and his creativity helps me, gives me energy to help him on the business side. So he's a good person to work for because his projects and his artistry there's so much content and creative content there that makes life interesting. I have lots of artists who ask me to manage them, but I'm not interested in their music. I'm not interested in what they do. They might be a good instrumentalist, but they don't have the whole package like Joe does.
So that said, Tom, so you made an interesting point. So artists will come to you and say, I love how you manage Joe, but if you're not into the music, you turn them down.
Correct.
So for you, it's you love the music, if you like your music, you think about it.
Yeah, it's not all just business, because in order to make to be, if you're a manager, in order to make money, you actually would have to manage quite a few people.
Right.
You know, so something else has to be your motivation here, and it's part of the jazz tradition. You know, so I have to love the music and love what they're doing, be interested in them as not only an artist but a person too, sometimes too. So.
Think about that, because managing jazz artists is not like managing rock artists or even classical artists. You're managing, like, literally herding cats.
Right. Well, that's a pretty good description. And with Joe's in particular, Joe's capacity to do different projects, from music and dance to solo music, to orchestral music, to arranging, to recording. There's so much there that keeps life interesting.
Speaking with Tom Marcello, Tom, so you've been doing this for a while, and you also had a career before managing. You were also a prominent jazz photographer, still are.
Right.
If you go to Wikipedia, you'll see a lot of images, and you'll see the name Tom Marcello right there underneath. What got you into photography?
Well, actually, I graduated from RIT. I graduated from RIT with a master's, and they called it a master's in professional arts at the time, which was a photography degree. So I brought my camera around to gigs and artists that I love to go see, and spent a lot of time with the camera and the viewfinder in my face. And that took a little bit away from enjoying the music. So I stopped. Taking, my life took me to other places besides photography, but I stopped taking gig photographs because I would, wait for the moment and wait for the right lighting, and I I was very selective in pushing that shutter button, and so it took a lot of concentration. So I rarely do any, these days, because it took so much away from the music. So those old negatives. These days, because they could be digitized and spruced up now with Photoshop and things like that, and I've let them be freely used for the most part for through Creative Commons. So if you go to Flickr and you look at my portfolio, anybody can use those. Although I get asked a lot, and sometimes I get paid for it. But if a musician asks me, to use that in a program or something like that, it's free.
Because you documented a period of time that really in jazz that a lot of folks have pretty much stopped playing traditional jazz, so to speak. But you documented that period of people who were still on the tradition, on the path, still playing music. So Jimmy Heath, a lot of the jazzmobile photos. It wasn't documented on film. You caught that. Without your work, there would be no documentation of the jazzmobile period of the 70s.
It's very kind of you. Yes.
That's the truth.
Yeah, they've been used in quite a few publications lately, and books, magazines, albums.
Now, another thing you did as a young man, you weren't even 25 yet. You also promoted shows. You brought Woody Shaw here, for example. You weren't even 22 or 23.
On my 22nd birthday, I brought McCoy Tyner here. I remember that because it was my birthday.
So what got you to that side? Because most people think, you know what, I love to see them, but never in a million years would I love to say, I love to promote them, bring them here, and pay them. That's a whole other side of the business. What got you to that side? What made you want to do that?
Well, because I wanted to be more and more involved in the music. So, I cannot play a lick. I can't play any instrument. I have no musical aptitude whatsoever. So I try to find a way to keep involved.
So I'm the jazz grew out, the jazz world out. So that's it. So what tips could you give, let's say, young people coming up and say, you know what, I love this artist, I want to help them out as much as possible. What tips would you give them?
Well, first of all, what you can do for any artist is to get their publishing together. So if you can do the back office, organization for them, that's the gift that keeps on giving. Those royalties come in and forever. So getting their publishing straightened out, getting their songs copyrighted or at least registered, and now with digital, there is a whole lot of different organizations and venues where you have to register their music in order for them to get their royalties, whether they're mechanical royalties or performance royalties.
Stop for a second. What's the difference between a mechanical royalty and performance royalty?
A mechanical royalty is basically the purchase of the music itself. The purchase of the music, and it can be through a download, or it can be through a ringtone, or it can be, and that pays very little, by the way, or it can be from the actual the CD sale. A performance royalty is when the recorded music is performed, and it can be performed live, and it can be performed because in Europe, say, when a jazz artist performs in Europe, he plays his song. There's something that you fill out at the end. And you submit that, and it goes to the performance rights organizations. Okay. So you get paid a royalty on your own performance for performing your own song, and radio play, digital, whether it's digital or foreign, so performance royalties are the performance of the song, and mechanical royalties are the actual purchase of the music.
Now that said, there's been a kind of a real push for artists to get their music in so many different areas, not just radio, but also television, into commercials, or they can get into TV shows, or popular TV shows. What's your take on that?
Well, if you can do that, great. And so what you need in that case is somebody, and there's organizations, there's people that do that, who take your publishing, your republished works, and promote them.
Okay.
And they go out and they place them, and this happens in Europe more often than in the United States for Joe Locke, and it goes into films, and it might go into background music. They may just play a snippet. They might actually ask for something to be commissioned.
Right.
And so that happens, and when that happens, it's great.
Speaking with Tom Marcello, Tom, for example, let's say I hear this great movie comes out, and all of a sudden I hear a piece of Joe Locke's music playing in the background. Let's say the radio turns on, it's Joe Locke.
Right.
First, do they have to approach you and Joe for use of that music, or can they just use it afterwards and then come to you, or just pay you royalties for whatever was used? For
a mechanical license, they have to, today, they actually have to come to us for a license, and we charge them a fee.
Okay.
If it's, and in that case, because they're using it in a film, then they would actually purchase a mechanical license, and that depends on, the fee depends on the length of what they're using, how much music they're using, and what kind of media it is. You know, if it's for a film, it's going to cost a lot more money than it's going to be for something that's they're going to use for background music and for a show for one day.
Sure. How about for DVDs? Is there an additional charge? Let's say there's a film, there's also DVDs, residuals, and
sure. And there's performing rights organizations like Joe's. I'm a member of BMI, and they collect those performance royalties.
What's BMI?
Business Music International. So, and they were formed in the 40s as an alternative of ASCAP, and so they collect royalties internationally, performance royalties for in this case Joe, and they're very fair about it, and they give quarterly statements and quarterly checks.
So on the business side, let's say there's a musician, because we're just pretty much talking to musicians and educators coming up here. So there's so many different things. So music's not their route, or realize maybe I want to play this, but I'm just too frustrated. Would you recommend management as another way of keeping yourself in the music game?
Sure. It's a way of being involved, giving back, and maybe even hopefully being involved in the creative process too. Now, the other consideration when you do this is that you're dealing with artists. You know, you're not dealing with machines, and so each artist has their own personalities, and sometimes dealing with. So there's a bit of psychology that has to that goes on. So your personal communication skills are you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to give succinct direction, and not your job is to settle things down and to give calm and clear direction.
So sometimes you're a babysitter, sometimes you're a coach, you're a mom, you're a teacher.
I mean, artists are they wear their hearts in their sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times, you know, it takes a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
So you need some patience, you know, in order to deal with the artist. But if you're doing a good job for him and they trust you, then that's a huge thing.
I mean, the big question, especially not so much in jazz, but let's say other music, you can make money. But how can a manager make money in jazz, or can they make money in jazz taking care of an artist?
Sure, and it depends on each of your individual deals. If you're doing everything, including booking, then your fee would be higher. So if your deal is just doing everything but booking, then your fee is lower. So now some managers take a certain percentage of absolutely everything that the artist does, whether they've procured that income or not. Yeah, if they procure the income or not, I do not. You know, but everybody's a little different.
And who are some of the other managers in today's jazz world that you deal with? It's a small family, but it's a...
I rarely deal with other managers.
Really?
Yeah, I rarely deal with other managers. Because, you know, it's actually a volatile business. And sometimes these managers, they come and they go. Ted Curlin's organization is somebody that's a very stable organization, and they pull and book the artists, but they manage them too, you know, for the most part. So, but for the vast majority of jazz artists, they either do not have a manager, or they have a manager only for a short period of time.
Wow.
So, and that's because they're I don't know how to say this politely, but maybe they're just not taking care of, they can't find the right person to take care of them in a business-like manner. Now, I'm a little bit more mature because I'm older.
Right. But you started when you were younger, Joe. You've known since you were 22.
Yeah, but I also have business background outside of music that's, you know, decades old. So, so I come at it from a total business sense and a capitalist sense, and I don't get excited as much as somebody else. So I will never promise anything to somebody unless I can deliver, no matter who I'm dealing with. I'm not talking about an artist. I'm talking about interacting with other managers or agents or club owners or festival. So it's very important to be very businesslike, to return every phone call before you go to bed at night, to make phone calls instead of emails if you can. You
Why
know,
is that?
personal connections are most important, and you can have a lot of things can get done in one phone call that would take 50 emails because you're having a back and forth. You know, I mean, so personal connections are very, very, very important.
It's funny because the state of social networking, you have Twitter, Facebook, emails. You still recommend picking up the phone if you can. And
That's
talk to that
social
person.
networking. You know, that's social network. This is business. It's not social. You know, so you want to be able to perform for the other person on the other end of the line. You want to get them all the documents, everything. Just so you have to be very prepared. And if you stay prepared, then everything will go smoothly. You know, so you have to the back office has got to be very, very organized. You know, which is not hard to do. It's just methods. You know, so if you have a method and you stick with it, then you find out that you get people that are responding to you when they find out that when they find out that you're responsive to them and you take care of things in a business-like manner, then they want to do business with you again because you're not a pain, you know, and you've taken care of everything that you said that you do, and sometimes more than that. So being responsible, returning every phone call. Never go a day without returning somebody's call. I mean, I return everybody's contact. Now, sometimes it can't be a phone call.
Right.
Sometimes it's got to be an email. You know.
But you get back
you
to
know,
them.
I get back to them before I go to bed. I mean, there's really no reason not to. You know. So, and they go in order. You know, the first person they call is the first person that gets a response. You know. So.
Tom, thanks so much for all your hard work.
All right. Thank you, Derek. I hope I was a help.
Absolutely.